This is Part 2 Episode 112. A joy immediately appeared in Xiao Yan's eyes when he saw this scene. He did not expect the yin-yang life soul pill to attract pill lightning. Pill lightning, that was the greatest headache for Alchemist, was something that Xiao Yan loved to see because his earth demon puppet would be strengthened after a pill lightning refinement. The last time around, the earth demon puppet was strengthened to the point that it could contend with an 8-star dozong. Xiao Yan wondered just what level the earth demon puppet would reach if it was to experience pill lightning again. While Xiao Yan excitedly summoned the earth demon puppet once again, the dark clouds that had gathered in the sky suddenly paused. After which, they became distorted. Although there were some muffled thunderous sounds, a scene where lightning cut through the distant air and fell did not occur. Instead, after some squirming, the dark clouds gradually scattered. The sudden scattering of the pill lightning was just like a basin of cold water being splashed on Xiao Yan's head, extinguishing all of his excitement. Why did the pill lightning disappear by itself? Xiao Yan was stunned as he looked at the dark clouds in the air before he bitterly laughed a moment later. Big brother Xiao Yan, the poison fog within the fallen god stream is far too dense. Perhaps it is because the poison vapor has covered the pill chi, causing the pill lightning to fail to find its target, and ended up scattering by itself. The little fairy doctors group was also stunned by this scene. After which, Xinlan mused for a moment before finally crying out loud. Xiao Yan could only nod his head when he heard this. After his earlier absent-mindedness, his heart understood what had occurred was indeed partly due to the poison vapor covering the land here. However, there was another reason. It was that the yin-yang life soul pill was unable to attract pill lightning. This kind of medicinal pill might be considered a tier 7 middle grade pill, but strictly speaking, it had only barely reached the middle grade. If it was not due to the unique effects of the pill, it would be only a tier 7 low grade level. The pill chi that it emitted was perhaps unable to attract pill lightning. This, along with the poisonous vapor hiding, caused the pill lightning to gradually scatter after it had appeared. Unlucky, however. I'm pressed for time, and don't have the time to deal with pill lightning. Xiao Yan quietly voiced his unluckiness in his heart before he waved his hand. The black-red medicinal pill within the medicinal cauldron was sucked out. This is the yin-yang life soul pill her. Xiao Yan's eyes observed the medicinal pill in his hand as he muttered to himself. This medicinal pill was the size of a dragon's eye. It was both black and red in color. It had a rounded surface that contained a brilliant luster. When one's hand rubbed over it, one would feel an icy coldness on one side while the other was warm, causing one to feel a great comfort. Since the medicinal pill has been successfully refined, next will be the refinement of the body. Xiao Yan gently inhaled a breath of air. He randomly stored away the medicinal cauldron and waved his hand. A corpse that was covered in ice appeared. This corpse was that of Yun Shan from the Misty Cloud sect. Originally, Xiao Yan had prepared it for Yao Lao back then. However, a corpse of this level could no longer catch Xiao Yan's eyes. It would be used to conduct an experiment. After summoning the corpse, the body refining method that Yao Lao had taught Xiao Yan flowed into his mind. A moment later, he quietly nodded. He waved his hand and an invisible wind dragged the corpse, suspending it in the air. Xiao Yan waved his hand and a wisp of glazed lotus heart flame appeared. It emitted a puff sound as wrapped around the corpse. The cold ice on the corpse swiftly melted under the frighteningly high temperature of the glazed lotus heart flame. Old Mr. Yao, hand me a thread of spiritual strength. Xiao Yan spoke in a deep voice as he looked at the ice that swiftly scattered. Hearing this, a thread of spiritual strength was immediately separated from between Qian Huozunja's brows. After which, this spiritual strength drifted to Xiao Yan. Xiao Yan grabbed the spiritual strength and randomly tossed it into the corpse. After which, the yin-yang life soul pill was tossed to Qian Huozunja. Consume it. Once I give the word, you should immediately enter this body. Qian Huozunja nodded with a grave expression. He stuffed the medicinal pill into his mouth without any hesitation. An excitement was flickering in his eyes. Xiao Yan swiftly took out a jade bottle from his storage ring, after seeing that Qian Huozunja had consumed the medicinal pill. The interior of the jade bottle was filled with a purple-red colored blood. A shockingly wild and violent energy seeped out of it. This was the essence blood of the sky-poison dragon scorpion beast. Xiao Yan's hand squeezed with a great force and the jade bottle burst apart. The large cluster of liquid blood scattered. With a wave of Xiao Yan's hand, all of the blood landed on the body surrounded by flames. Waves of sizzling sounds were suddenly emitted when the liquid blood had just made contact with the corpse. One could see the skin of the corpse began to swiftly rot. This change did not cause Xiao Yan's expression to alter. After an indifferent glance, Xiao Yan commanded the glazed lotus heart flame and suddenly increased its temperature. Following the increase in the temperature of the glazed lotus heart flame, the blood that adhered to the corpse began to slowly seep into it in a strange manner. The originally pale white flesh was gradually filled with life when the essence blood merged with it. Around half an hour after the essence blood gradually merged into the corpse, Yun Shan's tightly shut eyes were suddenly opened. His empty eyes contained a fluctuating life force. Of course, this life force was not Yun Shan's life force. Instead, it was due to the thread of soul from Tian Huozunja. When Yun Shan opened his eyes, Xiao Yang suddenly let out a deep cry, "Old Mr. Yao, enter." Tian Huozunja, who had already been waiting for the order by the side, was filled with excitement when he heard Xiao Yang's cry. After which, his illusionary figure rushed into the corpse. After which, he penetrated through the glazed lotus heart flame and pounced into the corpse, which was covered in a red-colored glow. A strange black-red ripple emitted from the middle of Tian Huozunja's brows the moment his soul made contact with the corpse. The ripple spread at lightning-like speed as it covered the entire body. The soul of Tian Huozunja and the corpse suddenly collided as the black-red ripple spread. This time around, the collision did not repel the soul. Instead, the soul slowly merged into the body, as it successfully completed. Xinlan and the little fairy doctor, by the side, were unable to control their joy as they asked after seeing Tian Huozunja's soul merge with the body, "Not yet. Old Mr. Yao must endure the burning of the heavenly flame and gradually obtain control of the body. Only then can he be considered to have truly revived from the flames." Xiao Yang's expression was solemn as he shook his head. The subsequent step was the most important one. If Tian Huozunja was unable to endure the burning of the heavenly flame, it was likely that not only would this physical body be wasted, but his soul would also suffer a fatal blow. The both of you should head to the entrance of the valley and stand guard there. The earth demon puppet will aid you. Remember, do not allow anyone to enter. Xiao Yang instructed them in a deep voice. The little fairy doctor and Xinlan nodded when they heard him. They grabbed the earth demon puppet and slowly stepped back. Finally, they came to a stop at the entrance of the valley. Xiao Yang turned his gaze away after seeing this. He looked at the corpse with a painful expression, burning within the heavenly flame in the air. His fist slowly tightened. "You must endure." The burning of the heavenly flame continued for 2 days. Even though this was the case, the flame burning outside of the corpse did not disappear. However, the pain on the face of the corpse was gradually reduced, perhaps as a result of it having become numb. Moreover, a hidden mighty aura was quietly brewing within the body. Another day passed. On this day, the slight sound of rushing wind suddenly appeared a distance from the valley that had been quiet for a long while. A moment later, a white-clothed man carrying a snake-shaped walking stick slowly appeared at a spot around 100 meters from the entrance of the valley. Many white figures appeared one after another behind him. The poison fog of this fallen god valley is really too dense. It even hid the scent of the monster core. However, we have finally found them. The old man holding the snake-shaped walking stick looked at the valley. His smile was exceptionally dense. The entrance to the valley was a path that was a couple of dozen feet wide. The little fairy doctor and Xinlan were seated cross-legged on the walls beside the path. The earth demon puppet, with its hollow eyes, was beside them. Xinlan held her cheeks with her hand as her gaze repeatedly swept over the valley. There had been no commotion in the valley during these couple of days of waiting. She really did not know how things were progressing. Xinlan softly sighed. She stretched her lazy waist, and was just about to speak to the little fairy doctor beside her when the little fairy doctor's tightly shut eyes were suddenly opened. A grave expression instantly surged onto her pretty face. What is it? Xinlan was shocked when she saw the appearance of the little fairy doctor, and she hurriedly asked, "The people from the Ice River Valley have arrived." An icy cold glint flashed across the little fairy doctor's pretty eyes. She slowly stood up from the ground as a faint killing intent gradually wreathed out of her body. Xinlan's expression also changed when she heard the little fairy doctor's words. Her eyes hurriedly looked to the outside of the valley. She indeed saw some white figures in the distance. "You are the woeful poison lady, right?" While Xinlan was looking at the area outside of the valley, an indifferent, old voice was suddenly transmitted from the distance. After which, it landed in the ears of the little fairy doctor and Xinlan. The little fairy doctor did not reply to this voice. An icy-cold expression was present in her eyes. She clenched his fist, and grayish-purple dough-chi slowly extended out like two enormous pythons. Immediately, they meandered around her body. A gentle ripple was suddenly formed in the air at the entrance to the valley not long after the old voice sounded. Immediately, a hunchbacked figure, holding a snake-shaped walking stick, slowly appeared in front of the little fairy doctor's and Xinlan's eyes. Following the appearance of this hunchbacked figure, sounds of wind parting appeared behind him. A moment later, numerous white figures landed behind the hunchbacked figure in an orderly fashion. This group of people was silent after making their appearance. A killing intent was vaguely and slowly spreading at the same time, causing the surrounding poison gas to scatter. The little fairy doctor's eyes narrowed when the old man holding a snake-shaped walking stick appeared. She quietly tightened her hands and said in a clear, cool voice, "It is indeed an expert, at the peak of the Do Zone class. This Ice River Valley is really willing to put in the effort, ha ha. It is not overboard for the old me to act for the woeful poison lady. Moreover, according to the rules of my Ice River Valley, those who have killed the elders of my valley will also be captured and put to death." The old man holding the snake-shaped walking stick was naturally the elder Tian Shi from the Ice River Valley, who had entered the fallen god stream in search of Xiao Yan's group. At this moment, his narrow eyes were looking at the little fairy doctor above him. He smiled slightly while his voice contained an unconcerned tone. "He is Ice River Valley's elder Tian Shi." Xinlan, who was behind the little fairy doctor, revealed a somewhat pale white face due to the large group of Ice River Valley's experts that had appeared. When her eyes paused on that old man, her paleness grew even more intense as she involuntarily cried out, "Elder Tian Shi." The little fairy doctor was startled. Immediately, her face changed a little. Even someone like her, who had entered the Pill region a short while ago, had heard of this person's name. It was rumored that this old fellow was not only strong, but had also practiced the Ice Sun force of the Ice River Valley to a peak level. An ordinary Do Zone was unable to even last 10 exchanges against him. Moreover, each time this person fought, he would not leave anyone alive. Additionally, he relied on the overbearingness of his Ice Sun force to freeze his opponents into lifelike ice sculptures, causing one to feel terrified just by looking at it. The fierce reputation of this old fellow was quite well known in this middle region. The little fairy doctor had not expected the Ice River Valley to dispatch this old demon. "Why are there only the two of you? I remember there seemed to be a young man, and a spiritual body that possessed a great strength." "No." Tian Shi gently stuck the snake-shaped walking stick into the ground as he laughed. "Ask the both of them to come out. Today, the old me shall not let anyone off. Otherwise, it would be difficult for me to account to the valley chief. I'm afraid that you don't have that ability." The little fairy doctor coldly laughed. She turned her head to Xinlan and said, "Head to the valley. Look after Xiao Yang and Tian Huazunja." Xinlan hesitated for a moment after hearing her words. However, after thinking about how she would only be a burden to the little fairy doctor, she could only clench her teeth and swiftly withdraw. After which, she leaped into the valley. It seems that all of them have hid in the valley. Could it be that they were injured when fighting the sky poison dragon scorpion beast the last time? Tian Shi was unconcerned about Xinlan leaving. None of these people would be able to flee today. The little fairy doctor knit her eyebrows. She did not expect this old demon to be aware of their fight with the sky poison dragon scorpion beast. He was indeed somewhat skilled. Old Shi, leave this woman to us. You can just rest." One of the three white-clothed old men beside Tian-Shi glanced at the little fairy doctor before speaking in a respectful manner. "There's no need. The old me is also extremely interested in this woeful poison lady." Tian-Shi suddenly rubbed the back of his ear when he spoke until this point. There was a brown scar at that spot. An ugly hole was vaguely present in the scar. It was as though the flesh had been dug out of that spot. It caused one to shiver when looking at it. Tian-Shi rubbed this brown scar. A chill suddenly surged out of both of his eyes. "I can't remember just when I exchanged blows with that last person that had the woeful poison body. However, I have a deep memory of that person. Today, allow the old me to see just what level this woeful poison body has reached." The three white-clothed old men looked at each other after hearing this. None of them dared to say anything more. Being defeated by the expert, who possessed the woeful poison body back, then had left a bloody scar in the heart of Tian-Shi. They did not dare to say anything over this matter. "All of you should guard the four corners of this valley. Do not allow anyone to escape." Tian-Shi lifted the snake-shaped walking stick as he slowly walked forward. After which, his feet stepped on empty air as he climbed through the air. His eyes glanced at the little fairy doctor and the earth demon puppet beside her before laughing with a faint voice. "Other than you, there will not be anyone else alive in this valley." The little fairy doctor's face was icy cold. Her eyes swept over the valley without leaving a trace while her hands involuntarily tightened. There was still no activity within the valley. It seemed that the merger of Tian Huazunja with his physical body had yet to finish. "I can only try my best to delay the time. Hopefully, Xiao Yan can increase the speed of the merger." The little fairy doctor inhaled a gentle breath. She shifted her legs. Her foot had just stepped forward when the earth demon puppet seemed to have been dragged by something. A boom sound appeared as its foot stomped violently on the ground. After which, it rushed toward Tian-Shi in the sky. The little fairy doctor hurriedly followed after seeing this. The vast and mighty Do Chi on her palms transformed into two grayish-purple large Do Chi pythons. They emitted a hissing sound as they cut through the distant air and bit at Tian-Shi. "Is this that puppet? It is indeed a little extraordinary. However, the true peak of the Do Zone class is not someone you can fight against by relying on numbers." Tian-Shi smiled indifferently in the face of the earth demon puppet as it led the attack. He clenched his shriveled hand and one could see the space in front of the earth demon puppet fluctuate. A moment later, it transformed into a real substance. Bang! The earth demon puppet violently collided against the space wall. The rebounding effect returned most of the force to the body of the puppet, sending the earth demon puppet flying. Tian-Shi slowly raised his shriveled hand after randomly forcing back the earth demon puppet. After which, he faced the little fairy doctor and made a sudden grabbing motion. Immediately, a 10-foot large, cold air palm shot out and grabbed the two large grayish-purple Do Chi pythons. With a ruthless pinch, the two enormous pythons crumbled, transforming into countless energy spots that scattered to the ground. A cold smile surfaced on Tian-Shi's face after having shattered the enormous pythons. He waved his hand and an enormous palm appeared in front of the little fairy doctor in a lightning-like fashion. After which, it was violently slammed down. The little fairy doctor's pretty face changed slightly when she sensed the shocking cold air that had suddenly arrived. She could sense the circulation of the Do Chi within her body was clogged in the face of this shocking cold air. What powerful ice, Zun force, a seriousness surged onto the little fairy doctor's face. Dense, grayish-purple Do Chi swiftly surged out of her body. After which, it gathered above her head. Bang! The large, cold ice palm landed without any obstruction, colliding with her grayish-purple Do Chi. Frightening cold air surged out. Immediately, tiny ice flakes surfaced on her grayish-purple Do Chi. The enormous palm completely smashed the little fairy doctor's defenses in a tricky manner. Grug. Her defenses were easily broken and the enormous force sent her body across space before she had the time to withdraw. Immediately, a mouthful of fresh blood was spat out. Her lovely body flew backwards like a kite with a broken string. Finally, she smashed into the wall. The powerful force caused fissures to appear on the mountain wall. The little fairy doctor was forced back in defeat after merely one exchange. An expert at the peak of the Do Zone class was this powerful. Tianxi smiled slightly after having defeated the little fairy doctor with one palm. He was about to give chase when a silver-colored figure once again rushed over without fearing death. A silver glow was flickering over its fist. Faint disdain surfaced in Tianxi's eyes when he sensed the sharp wind contained on the fist of the silver-colored figure. All the puppet had was brute strength. It was still fine if it was dealing with an ordinary Do Zone. However, it was undoubtedly just a reckless act against him. Snow white, cold air swiftly gathered on Tianxi's hand. In the blink of an eye, it transformed into an ice fist that struck forward. Bang! The ice fist and the fist of the earth demon puppet violently collided at a speed that caused a great impact. Ice flakes immediately flew in all directions. Tianxi coldly laughed as the ice flakes shot out from the ice fist, and his arm suddenly and strangely wiggled, like a snake, before it suddenly shook. Boom! The flood water-like force surged out while the arm was wiggling. This force contained the strength of the earth demon puppet. That strange wiggling technique seemed to have completely reflected the earth demon puppet's attack. The force spread out in a ripple form, and a half-a-finger-deep fist mark sank into the chest of the earth demon puppet. If it did not possess any life nor feel any pain, it was likely that Tianxi's hand would have killed it. Even though this was the case, the earth demon puppet was still violently thrown down. Finally, it shattered a couple of large rocks before it was deeply imprinted in the mountain wall. Your only SOSO, the snake-shaped walking stick in Tianxi's hand gently pressed against the empty air as Tianxi swiftly glanced at the defeated little fairy doctor. He faintly laughed. The current you is indeed much weaker compared to the last person in possession of the woeful poison body. Obediently return with me to the Ice River Valley, and you might still have a chance to survive. Otherwise, your fate will not be better than the others. The little fairy doctor's face was ice cold. She wiped away the trace of blood on the corner of her mouth. The seal formed by her hands changed and was just about to undo the seal of the woeful poison body when a soft laugh suddenly spread from the valley. I think that there is no need to return to the Ice River Valley. This fallen god stream is not a bad burial ground. It should be quite a good place for your old bones to be buried here. Tianxi slowly withdrew the smile on his face while he stood in the air. His eyes were gloomy as they landed on the entrance of the valley. Two figures were slowly walking out. Tianxi's eyes paused on the young figure. Soon after, they turned to the old man, who was wearing a smile. After which, his gloomy face slowly stiffened. Do Zun. His soft voice contained a little dullness and shock as it suddenly spread, causing the air around to quietly freeze. Do Zun. These two simple words appeared to possess an demonic power that instantly caused the air above the land to solidify. The chilly killing aura that was formed by the many Ice River Valley's disciples completely collapsed in the face of these two words. Two figures slowly walked out of the entrance of the valley. Xiao Yan lifted the little fairy doctor up, and saw the hint of blood on the corner of her mouth. The slight smile on his face involuntarily tightened. However, this smile was filled with a killing aura and a chilly feeling. Have you succeeded? The little fairy doctor looked at Tian Huozunja behind Xiao Yang and asked joyfully. Xiao Yang grinned slightly and nodded. He asked, "Are you all right? It's just some minor injuries." The little fairy doctor randomly replied. This time around, she had paid some attention, and did not allow the ice sun force to invade her body. Additionally, that Tianxi wanted to capture her alive. Therefore, he had held back when he launched his palm attack. It was due to this that her injuries were not considered serious. Xiao Yang grabbed the little fairy doctor's hand. He only felt assured after probing her. Turning his head, he looked at Tianxi in the sky, whose face had suddenly turned volatile and uneasy. He smiled as he said, "This elder's blows are really heavy." This video will end here. Thank you for watching.